Courage and honor, cousin.
Into the fires of battle, onto the anvil of war.
Hello, and welcome to Warhammer 40k's Grim History from the Beyond. I'm Zeckthar.
And I'm Yuksen.
We are the chroniclers of all that was, and all that will be in the 41st millennium. We've seen the rise and fall of many empires. And this month, we will be explaining the 40k universe for people who are new to it, maybe like yourself.
That's right, Zeckthar, and this week we will be going through the strange and brutal aliens that live in the Milky Way.
Indeed, but remember, if you guys like these retellings of 40k lore, you can support our channel by becoming a member on our YouTube channel. And more recently, you can purchase my book, The Jotuns.
Just click on the hyperlink or type in the title in the description wherever you get your books. You can get the ebook for just $5.99.
Quite right, but let us start this interesting month, shall we, Yuksen?
Absolutely. Now, the concept of this month's boxes was established by one of her newer members, the Ladder Lord himself, Colin. He is fairly new to the lore of 40k and just didn't know where to start.
Indeed. So we figured that we would do a simple or dummies guide to 40k. Now, last time we started with the old guys, the Necrons, and then moved on to the 18 million factions that the Eldar have. This week, we're going to start with the extraterrestrials, so to speak. The bugs, also known as the Tyranids. What can I say about the Tyranids? I mean, I didn't say last week.
Oi! Me know!
Interrupted now. But really? What can you possibly tell us about the Tyranids?
That them bug eyes don't taste too good.
Anyways, like I said last week, Tyranids are an insectoid species of alien, not from the Milky Way system, but from beyond the halo stars. There are many different types of bioforms known as Tyranids, such as the massive Carnifex, all the way down to the lowly Gene Stealer cultist, but they all have two things in common. One, they're all controlled by the hive mind, which I'll get to in here in a second, and the second is to feed the hive. Like a plague of locusts, they descend on a planet and proceed to eat everything that is considered biomass. Flora, fauna are digested by the massive hive ships until nothing remains on the dead world. After this, the lesser creatures such as the Gaunts and Gene Stealers hurl themselves into the digestive acids and are consumed as well. With this accomplished, they move on to the next world, rinse, and repeat. All under the orders of the hive mind, which is the Gestalt collective consciousness of the Tyranid species. It is a nearly omniscient entity composed of pure psychic energy that originated outside of the Milky Way galaxy. The Hive Tyrant is said to be a living vessel for it. It controls every Tyranid creature in a mental vice-like grip and directs their every action. This control can be disrupted, however, with the death of the Hive Mind synapse creatures, through which it transmits and augments its psychic commands, such as when a Hive Tyrant's death leaves the lesser Tyranid bioforms to act completely on basic animal instincts. On the battlefield, certain large and relatively autonomous Tyranid creatures, such as the Hive Tyrant and the Tyranid Warrior, are able to telepathically exert the Hive Mind's influence in order to control smaller Tyranid bioforms, which without the Hive Mind's psychic direction would revert to the instinctive, non-sentient behavior of feeding and self-preservation. This synapse creature focuses the hive mind's psychic gestalt into nodal points that quell the natural instinct of nearby small Tyranid bioforms and are an essential component for a Tyranid swarm effective command and control. The hive mind is so staggeringly complex in its power and construction that it either drives most psychers insane or kills them. The only known agent of the Imperium of Man believed to have looked upon the hive mind and retained his sanity is Chief Librarian Tigris of the Ultramarines.
A blue beaky boy? That don't seem right. Burn some weird boys might have met up with it in the big green.
Maybe, but really unlikely. Regardless, the hive mind also has the ability to block interstellar communication and travel through the warp due to the potent psychic presence it creates in the immaterial. essentially disrupting the normal flow of psychic energy within the Immaterium in much the same way as a warp storm. This ability has become known as the Shadow of the World. The hive mind uses its power when it unleashes the Hive Fleet, cutting off astropathic communications to the besieged part of the galaxy and forcing vessels already in the warp in the vicinity of the Hive Fleet to drop back into real space, thus making a call for reinforcements nearly impossible. This invasive psychic shroud sows terror and confusion on prey worlds as it traps and prevents the doomed inhabitants from calling for assistance. It even penetrates into the minds of nearby creatures and manifests as a primal malaise that can never be expelled. If a creature possesses psychic potential, then the horror they feel is magnified tenfold. Any use of their psychic abilities could unleash a form of incurable psychosis. As the Hive Fleet approaches the target planet, whole populations plunge into madness and despair, even before the first Tyranids have made planetfall. Now, there are only two things that the Tyranids seem to have a problem with. The first are demons and Necrons. The Tyranids don't like these guys because they have no biomass. Thus, when they fight either of these races, they don't really win. Even if they defeat them, there is no new biomass to replenish their losses. In fact, it's worse when they fight the Necrons because of the weapons the Necrons use.
You mean the Green Deca crumps the bad guys so hard they disappear?
Actually, yes. That's more or less right. God's weapons destroy everything down to the molecular level. Yuksen, I believe Snotright might actually be learning.
That'd be a good one, boss. Snotright only uses Ed for buttons. That's why he normally wins. His Ed's so thick.
Yeah, what he said.
Okay, well, the other thing Tyranids have a problem with are the,
Hey, wait a minute. That's not right. I'm good at tanking a gritty, good-for-nothing grot.
Nobody calls me a grot. I'll fight ya.
Ow, you shot me.
I did. Be quiet, both of you. Flagrot, staple Snotrock's arm back on. Quietly.
You got it, boss. Come on, Starhawk. Let's get the stapler.
You see what he did? That wasn't very proper. He's a Deca interrupting our scrap. Bad form.
Yeah, what you say?
Anyways, the other thing the Tyranids have a problem with are blanks. Blanks are rare humans who are null in the warp, and quite frankly, the hive mind can't see them. Worse than that, when a blank gets near Tyranids, it can sever their connection with the hive mind, reverting them into a more feral state. Well, before we move on, any thoughts on the bugs, Yuksen? Now we got the place to ourselves.
Not really. They're basically just
The reason why, by the way, the reason why I didn't give a physical appearance of them is because there are, like I said, there are a boatload of them. They all look very different.
And even ones that are supposedly the same may have different variations.
Correct. But I mean, they're example of a few of them anyways. Like I said, anyways, the Hormagaunts or Gaunts or Termagants. There's two of them. They're both called Gaunts. But one of them, anyways, actually has these particular type of guns that are actually fused to their hands, and the other one they just have claws. They're about the size of a human, but they've got like a tail like a raptor. They look, they look like Terran 42's xenomorphs
Alien.
from Alien. Yeah, they look actually almost exactly like that. Then you got the smaller ones, the Rippers, which are like literally they're about the size of a rat, but they're just pretty much all teeth and armor, and they like burrow into people and just eat them from the inside out. They're pretty gnarly.
They're kind of like the thing that comes out of somebody after a.
There's the first part of the alien species from Terran 42, the xenomorph. But yeah, thankfully though, the xenomorphs don't expand all the way out to said like Death Leaper or Carnifex. Carnifex is about the size of a tank.
Yeah.
Very much like Rhinoceros, kind of, anyways, with teeth and spiky. It looks a lot. Actually, kind of does look a lot like a rhino beetle, doesn't it? I don't know, think about it.
Yeah, kind of.
Not as much with the horn on the front of it, But yeah, very similar to that. Very, very tanky. But then, yeah, the Death Leapers, anyways, they're, well, okay, it's actually not called a Death Leaper. It's called well, is it called Death Leaper? Or is that just one of them's called a Death Leaper?
Just one of them's called a Death Leaper. The others are called Lictors.
Lictors, thank you. Yeah, Lictors are one of the few ones that if, like a Tyrant Lord dies or a war, they actually are actually connected to the hive mind themselves in a way, and they're actually very autonomous. The reason why is because they're like assassins. They kind of send them behind enemy lines, and then they just cause anarchy and disruption. But they almost always hunt alone. They're very quiet, very stealthy. Just an example of it, I'll probably have a picture of it for you guys that are watching on Tales of Asheraka, but it's literally it's a lictor sneaking up on Katakin jungle fighters in a jungle. Kind of gives you the concept anyways of how sneaky they are. So if you can do that, you're sneaky. Congratulations. But can they creep up on the frog? That's the key thing.
Yeah.
Anyways. So that's why I didn't give like a physical example of it. Now, the other thing is that Tyranids are kind of split up into two different groups normally for people. There is the Tyranids that kind of live on the hive fleets and whatnot, and they're birthed from that. And the other is significantly, in my opinion, more sinister, and those are the gene stealers. They're both technically Tyranids. The difference is that gene stealers, how they reproduce is they actually, it's like, it starts out as like a little bug. If I recall right, it starts out as a little bug, right? Or does it actually start out with a hive leader?
It starts off with the actual... Okay. Gene stealers are... Originally, there's the pure gene stealer. The pure gene stealer infects a human or whatever
they can get their hands on, quite frankly. It's actually kind of funny when they do that anyways with an orc, because the concept is like you were about to say, Yuksen, sorry to interrupt you, but what you're about to say is that person's infected, and then they infect more people, and then it slowly expands, right?
Right.
And so it works well with humans. With orcs, on the other hand, what happens is that the orc starts acting very unorky. So the other orcs, anyways, tend to avoid said orc,
or
they kill it.
Cases than not, they just go, "Okay, there's something wrong. Our boy here isn't acting orky at all, so he must die."
So it's very, very rare for gene stealers to actually be successful within like an orc encampment. It's a very rare. I'm not saying that it's never happened before, but it doesn't have the same, even if it has happened, which I think anyways, I actually have read that it has happened where it's taken over like a tribe of orcs. The problem is that when those orcs meet up with other orcs, they run into the same problem.
Yeah.
But then there's more orcs. So, it just doesn't work the same way. It's eventually what happens is that those orcs just get killed.
Yeah.
With humans, on the other hand, it can get to the point where it literally takes over an entire planet. And then they summon the Tyranids in anyways, who eat up everything. And then all of those gene stealers are the people that got attached anyways, get pretty much tossed into these giant acid baths and consumed by the Tyranids. Other than whoever anyways can make it off planet. If they can get 4 or 5 of these guys to get off planet and move to another planet, then they can expand anyways the plague, so to speak, of gene stealers.
Right.
And as far as I know anyways, gene stealers can affect like I said, pretty much any populace, correct? I don't think they do well with chaos ones either, because chaos people chaos doesn't deal well with them.
I don't think they could do chaos, but that's because chaos is... They are not entities outside of the warp. So it's like, yeah, let's infect something that's gonna disappear back into the warp.
I meant the human chaos cultist, not demons. No, I don't think they could affect demons.
Chaos cultists, I can actually see that happening.
Yeah, I just don't know how well it would work. I guess that's
All that would happen is they just have to tweak it where the chaos gods they're following are the
blood for the bugs. It's like, what? Blood for the blood bugs. No, that's not right. It's not. Because swore it was bugs. All right.
I mean, doesn't he have like 6 limbs?
Yeah, that's not unusual.
No.
Steve's always had 6 limbs.
Steve?
Follower of Zitch. No, but I don't think I've ever heard of them being recorded of actually the Tau. I haven't heard the Tau or the Eldar. Either forms of the Eldar. Then again, I haven't really looked a whole heck of a lot into the Gene Stealers other than what they do with humanity. They have been known to actually there was I can't remember, it was like Scions of the Emperor or something like that, who actually became Space Marines, became infected by the Gene Stealers. No, here's the interesting part though, is because of the way that Space Marines brains are tweaked, it didn't work great for the pure strain. Because what happened was that he started to infect all these different Space Marines, and then they knew where he was, and they came and they killed him.
And then they use themselves as like bait, right?
No, they actually ended up designing a collar that they could put around their neck anyway, so that they wouldn't become beacons to the Tyranid hive fleet.
Yeah.
And then during the Dominus Crusade, Gilliman showed up, and I don't remember. I think he introduced the Primaris Space Marine genes into them, which like fixed them. I think it's been a while since I've looked them up.
Because the Belisarius call thing.
Yeah, your favorite guy. Yeah, so that's the different version anyway. So like I said, they're normally separated into 2 different groups. You've got the Gene Stealers, and then you have the Tyranids. Well, I think we've talked enough about the bugs. Let's move on to the shortest of the xenos, who really actually aren't xenos. The Votann.
Yes, let's.
Oi, I know them. These be stunties.
No, as discussed in our previous Vox, they are not the squats, or as you call them, the stunties. This group of xenos are the byproduct of cloning technology created by ancestral cores known as the Votann.
Wait a minute.
Yes?
You talking about them little kids with the beards and the good taka?
Yes, wait, no. There's a difference between a stunty, a squat, and a Votann.
But they look the same.
But they're different. They're not the same. They're not even the same abhuman. They went off sometime in the age of technology, and now they are as human as us, because they are all abhuman clones. Now do you understand?
But they look the same. These be stunties.
Fine. Why not? Moving on. Anyways, the League of Votann can be broken up as follows. The kin...
The squishy stunties.
Ah! Sorry. Like I was trying to say, the kin are known to be extremely hardy and resilient. These approximately 4-foot tall xenos possess such dense muscular and skeletal systems that they could nearly match a space marine in raw physical power. Their species also have higher red and white blood cell counts, which give them incredible resilience to harmful environments. Their race ruled more on logic than emotion. Then we have the Iron Kid.
The Iron Stunties.
Die, you stupid git! Anyways, are the mechanical brothers of the kin. The Iron Kin are roughly the same height as the kin, and each Ironkin consists of a cerebral unit, or CU, and a unique mechanical body.
Would it be wrong to say these are the descendants of the Iron Men from the Age of Technology?
Nope, as far as I have researched, they are one and the same.
Well, so why didn't they revolt like they did in the Age of Technology?
Well, the Ironkin may look like a simple robot, especially because they function to assist the kin whenever they can. It is more like their nature drives them to find and fill the niche they best fit. Because of this, you will find them mixed into many different roles, from a generalist to shock trooper to a strategic advisor. Not only this, but the kin regard them as equal, not as second class or slaves. When a kin talks to an Ironkin, he would talk to them as if he were talking to anybody else. The Ironkin's body is as personal to it as the flesh and blood frame of any organic being. It requires repair when damaged rather than simply being replaced, like that of a non-aware machine. In extreme situations, however, an Ironkin can survive as its CU alone. Should they be reduced to this condition, they are able to enter a state of torpor or inactivity while projecting an all-frequency distress beacon to any League assets in range.
This all seems actually very interesting.
Oh, but it is, and we can talk about it in a minute, but let me finish up how the Leagues work.
Oh, yeah, carry on, sir.
Well, the kin, barring only rare outcasts, belong to an extended familial and biological grouping known as a kindred. Kindreds dwell in holds, which, while simple at first glance, often are wildly different in their structures, size, and locations. Now, each kindred has a ruling council known as a Hearthspake, and nearly all kindreds and their holds in turn pledge their allegiance to a league that makes up the Leagues of Votann. While there are many leagues, there are 5 major leagues known as the Greater Thurian League, Trans-Hyperion Alliance, Kronos Hegemony, the Emir Conglomerate, and last but certainly not least, the URSR, the Irani Searcher Regulates. I must also mention that there are a boatload of minor leagues, but at the heart of every one of these leagues is a Votann ancestral core, a venerable thinking machine created long ago and placed aboard the first kin mining fleets. Another important aspect of Votann society is the guild, which are united bodies that make up of all those kin who perform a particular role or provide a particular service. Guilds officially exist outside of kindreds and leagues, but in truth, a great deal of overlapping takes place at the smaller levels.
This all sounds very interesting. But Yuksen, I've got a bunch of questions, but I've got one in particular.
Which is?
What is the difference between a squat and a Votann?
First of all, one of them's clones, the other one is actual people that have been changed into abhumans due to living environment.
Okay, so I was under the impression that the origins of the Votann were squats. So when they left humanity to the go to wherever they went, the center of the universe, the core, they took a bunch of cloning machines with them, but by that point they were stunties or squats.
Now, squats didn't start out being short and stocky. They were originally normal miners, and then the plants they ended up mining on, basically the gravity and that stuff, sort of.
Yeah, you don't understand what I'm saying. Saying anyways is that the squats that you're talking about anyways, there was a group of them that left humanity to go to the core, and they became the Votann.
Oh, you mean the ones that...
So they broke off from
left
humanity at that point.
Squats.
Was that?
Some of the squats left the other squats, and that became...
There you go. Yeah, now you got it. You're track. That was kind of my impression. It wasn't that it was just a bunch of random humans that went out there, and because they were at the core, they just started to shrink. that doesn't make any sense anyways to me anyways. If you're cloning them, why would the clones get smaller? I mean, if that was the case, in another 10,000 years, they'd be pipsqueak size. The Votann would be 2 inches tall. They'd be like the borrowers. But So the big difference though is that all the Votann now. Okay, so if you took the squats of today, which there aren't a whole lot of them left, but if you took the squats today and the Votann, the huge difference is that the Votann are clones. Correct?
Yeah.
That's the big difference between the two? Okay. At this point?
And they don't biologically reproduce.
And the squats do? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, and the squats also don't have the iron kin.
Right.
So you really honestly think anyways that the reason why the iron kin the men in iron that they took with them didn't become or didn't revolt was because they're actually treated more like they're not treated like robots?
Yeah. They aren't treated as like non-entities that like you're beneath us, you just do what we say and we'll treat you like
treated more like living beings. All right.
Yeah. They actually treat them like a family member or this
Okay.
is Steve.
What's
Okay.
that?
This is Steve. Okay.
Steve and I are running away together. That won't work. Why not?
You're
Because
clone.
you're a clone and he's a robot. Worst sci-fi romance ever. or one of the greatest TV dramas of the day. Soap opera. There you go. It's a soap opera. But go ahead. Sorry.
But enough of the squats and kin. Let's move on and you tell us about the Tau.
Yeah, tell us about them blue kids.
Well, most people despise the Tau for a very simple fact. They just don't seem to fit. They are very peculiar to the Milky Way for a few reasons. The first is that their caste system is very different from any other species. Now, first we must discuss what pushes the caste system. And that would be what every Tau is taught from a young age and believes. And that would be the greater good. The greater good. Now, the greater good, or the Tau-Va, teaches that every self-aware being is equal and plays an important part in Tau society. It tells its adherents to put away petty squabbles and unnecessary things to unite for the greater good of the rest of their species and of all other intelligent species in the galaxy. The Tau have no desire to destroy another intelligent species' religion or culture, though it may not mean that the Taus respect their right to live as they please. Now, take the dunderheads who have been interjecting this entire Vox.
Hey!
While the Tau would encourage them to continue to worship Mork and Gork, they would have to stop fighting everything and everyone.
Stop crumping?
Yes. To join the Tau Empire, you would have to stop fighting. At least each other and the Tau.
But we love fighting.
Hold on. What about headbutt?
Nope.
Food and crops?
Nope.
Stomping kids?
Does that include Tau or their friends?
Maybe.
No.
Well, that's no fun. Frag them and their stupid greater good. We don't want it.
And that's why no Ork is part of the Tau Empire. Humans were malleable, and many worlds of the Imperium have joined the Tau Empire because, well, living under the Imperial rule kind of sucks. But they think the Orks and other species who fiercely resist adhering to the greater good to pursue their own freedoms,
And crumping.
yes, and Krumpen, much to the dismay of the Tau, who see these desires as selfish and unenlightened. This is because the Tau are taught that the Empire is more important than oneself, which makes them seem very communistic. But they really aren't. They're actually a feudal caste system of government, much like Terran 42's feudal Japan, or even early India. Now, like I said, they are caste system based, each member within the caste supporting the whole of the Empire. These castes are based off of the natural elements: earth, air, water, and fire. And the ethereal. So, Earth are the engineers and the builders. Air are the pilots and the messengers. Water are the diplomats. Fire are the soldiers. And the ethereals are the ethereals. And tend to lead the town. But unlike most caste systems, there is a lot of legroom and freedoms built into it. This tends to keep the populace happy, most of the time. There have been rumors that ethereals use mind control to keep their people in line, which hasn't been documented anywhere I've seen, and if it was the case, they went really out of their way to build a government that was self-sufficient. The closest I have seen to any evidence of this is when I was reading about Commander Farsight, and it's pretty thin. Now, speaking of Farsight, the Tau have been known to rebel from time to time against the system, most notably Commander Farsight, who took his whole armada and seceded from the Tau Empire and set up the Farsight enclaves.
Oh, and how are they run? I'm assuming a dictatorship?
Actually, a monarchy, much like King Arthur in the Round Table. The Farsight enclaves are ruled by the Eight, and Farsight is their leader.
Interesting, but I think we're sliding off topic.
Right. Well, another reason they don't fit in is simply because they have hope for a brighter day. They're simply not dark or grim enough.
That's kind of a dumb reason to not like a people, because they aren't grouches.
Indeed. They also have advanced very rapidly because their imperial religion, the Tau Va, doesn't hate science, but encourages technological development. Because of this, they have come very far in a very short time. To give you folks an example, the Tau reached space travel in about 5,000 years. It took humanity 3 times as long. The weaponry of the Tau is very good as well, with their standard infantry weapon being the pulse rifle. A semi-automatic weapon that, to put in rudimentary terms, is a handheld railgun that shoots radiated plasma.
Huh?
Oh, okay. Let's see if we can explain this to you, Snotball. It shoots slower than a las rifle, but has a stopping force and longer range than a bolter.
Ooh. Gotta get me one of them. Maybe we can tweak it and get it to shoot faster.
Yes, well, before that happens, and you blow up the ship, what do you think of the Tau, and why do you think people don't like them, brother?
I think one thing is, yes, they aren't grimdark.
Let me add something else here real quick anyways. Aesthetically, they really don't fit in with everybody else either.
Yeah.
They're very much more mech warrior-ish.
Yeah.
In design. They don't have...
They're
not dark. Sorry, go ahead.
There we say that they are kind of like Terran 42 anime mech look.
Yeah. They're weebs. That's some people would call them. Go ahead. Sorry. Other than that.
And yeah, that's pretty much the main reasons why. Well, that plus especially orcs don't like them because of the fact that they decide to shoot from far distances instead of actually getting stuck in.
Right. Well, the orcs don't like fighting them because of that reason. Ironically, the Tau have tried to actually see if they can get the orcs anyways to join the Tau Empire, and that went about as well as you think it would. So at this point anyways, it's just known anyways, and it's been decreed that if you see an orc, shoot an orc.
Yeah.
We're no longer trying diplomacy with them. Speaking of which, anyways, diplomacy has gotten them into trouble as well. If I recall right, the Drukhari ended up deceiving them into... How that ended up working? They ended up showing a bunch of actual Eldar. Or Eldari. Or something along those lines.
Didn't we actually end up talking about it at our Tau?
Yeah, when we did the Tau, we did talk about this, but it was interesting because the Drukhari were like, well, these guys are bad guys. We can help you with them. And what ended up happening is that not only did they end up killing a bunch of the wrong guys on this planet, but also they ended up, like, a bunch of slaves ended up going to the Drukhari for weapons or something like that. It was the concept was that they told the Tau that it's like, I'll just sell us a bunch of your guys anyways into service for like 10 years and we'll send them back. We need help building something. Cool. Kind of thing.
Oh no,
The
it
Tau were
wasn't even
cool
like
with
that. It was
And then they
worse.
never got back. They never came back. And yeah, it was
No, it was worse than that.
it was pretty bad.
It was, we'll help you out if you almost like an exchange program. And then when records were looked back over with the fights, they noticed that a lot of Taoish like stuff was coming out of what the Dark Eldar were.
They realized they were using them for science experiments and crap like that. The Drukhari really did the
It
test.
was Drukhari, so it was obviously very, very messed up.
Right. Why does that guy look like Steve, but he's got 6 arms and looks like he weighs 5,000 pounds? Steve, kill! Oh, no. That's kind of what happened. But, so they don't trust the Drukhari anymore. The Eldar, or the Eldari, I think they have kind of had conversations with them before, but it's every time you talk with the Eldari, it's always a, what do you want, little people? Kind of thing. So, and it's even worse anyways for the Tau because they are just, they're the little tiny fish anyways in a very big ocean.
Yeah.
So, I don't know if, they do have good relations with the Votann though. In fact, one of the leagues, if I recall right, the Demug, work a lot of times hand in hand with the Tau. We couldn't actually figure out through the research that we did. We couldn't figure out if they'd actually joined the Tau Empire or they were actually just like a League of Votann, but they were just had really friendly relations with the Tau.
I'm thinking more of the latter.
Yeah, I think we kind of agreed more of the latter than them actually joining the Tau.
That's the other aspect of the Votann is basically they're merchants.
Yeah, the Votann actually, ironically, they get along with like quite a few people. They don't get along with orcs, obviously. No one gets along with orcs. Like orcs would just as well crump you as they will, give you teeth. Yeah, they're orcs. But orcs and chaos. Drukhari, they don't get along with either. They refuse to trade with them anymore. But probably because they did something very similar to what the Drukhari did with the Tau. They probably did it with the Votann. The Votann were like, yeah, no, we're not doing this anymore. And they have tried actually reaching out with the Necrons too. That didn't go over well either.
Yeah.
Necrons have no inclination anyways of forming allies. They are very much the grumpy man at the end of the cul-de-sac with a bunch of kids. Get off my lawn! That is the Necrons. That is their whole character. You are all on my lawn. I will kill you all anyways unless you leave. So
instead of with the stick, I have my shotgun. You will get off my lawn.
Except for this one, anyways, is a disintegration ray.
Yeah.
So, I mean, like I said, the Tau really don't kind of fit in. They're hopeful. They have hope for a better future tomorrow, and nobody else does. Everybody else thinks the world, pardon my French, are shit. And the only hope we have is the sweet relief of death.
Well, as we know, there's a couple of groups of the Eldar that are trying to prevent horrifying things from happening.
But they're still like horrible people. They're horrible people. Yuksen, the Harlequins are terrible. I don't know how many times I have to keep saying that, but
I never said that they're good people. I just said that they're actually heading towards trying to get a better place.
The tower, to me anyways, I kind of like the Tau. And I think the reason why I like the Tau is that every person that I've talked to on Terran 42 hates the Tau. So my concept was like, all right, I'll stick it to you. They're not that bad. They really aren't. I think anyways, it really boils down to that they have hope. And nobody else in the galaxy does. And they're just upset about it. I feel terrible, and I want everyone around me to feel the same way. And you don't, so we're going to make you feel terrible. Ladies and gentlemen, the Imperium of Man. That's literally what it is.
That is the Imperium Man.
Yeah.
In comparison to the orcs don't mind. They're having the time of their lives. What are you talking about?
Orcs are the only people, anyways, that are built into a system that is designed for this much depression. It's all just war, terrible, but we love war.
Yeah, terrible. They're
That's
having
our
their
bread
best
and butter
life right now.
Honestly, the only people that seem to be enjoying the Milky Way system in the Warhammer universe is the Orcs. The Tyranids, because they don't know any better, they're really more just animals than anything else. And the Tau. Tau have this concept of, if we keep expanding, we could build to a bigger and brighter future. And everybody hates that.
And everybody's like, no, it doesn't work that way. We've had this in the past. It doesn't work.
The only people that are cool with that, frankly, are the Orcs and the Votann. The Votann, because they're just like, sweet, you guys can think whatever you want. As long as you keep paying us for all these minerals, we're cool with you. You know?
Yeah,
and the Orcs are cool with it just simply because it's like, yes, we got more things that we can crump, you know?
Yeah.
But,
And they have more shiny stuff that we can take and make bigger stuff to crump with.
Right. But, okay, we got to get off the Tau and just how depressing this galaxy is. And speaking of which, anyways, why don't you, anyways, close us off with your favorite guys, the Orcs.
Yes, let's end with talking about my favorite race, the Orks.
Here we go. Here we go. Well, you stupid kid, you're saying it wrong. It's here we go. Here we go. You kid. You're the kid. You're stupid. You're stupid. My finger. Mine now. Get back.
Now, Orks used to be what were known as Orks, which were created by the Old Ones during the War in Heaven.
Wait, oh yeah, the Brady Boys. No, you can't. They be the big uns the Brady Boys made. Ooh. Wait a minute. Who you gonna get?
Now, over the last 60 million years, the Orks have slowly devolved into the Orks we all know and love today. But you can still find original coding through these strange mushroom people. More about that later. We can tell what the Orks were through the descendants of the Orks, being genetically engineered to be muscular, aggressive, and none too bright.
What?
Well, slower than the Brain Boys. Their technology is maintained by a cast of odd boys who possess genetically implanted dispositions and technical knowledge that grant them unusual skill with maintaining and developing technology.
Boss?
Yes?
What's an odd boy? I mean, I know about mech boys and weird boys. What's an odd boy?
You know, the Orks that don't think initially crump, but build or zap things to said crump.
Whoa! Like the guys I was just talking about. Weird boys, mech boys, and even the weirder ones. Docs?
Yep, except the weird boys.
Huh?
They be different. But let me get into odd boys.
Okie dokie.
Well, for odd boys, this skill is an unconscious one preserved through genetic memories hardwired into the odd boy's DNA by the old ones millions of years ago. The mech boys require very little training in their function within Ork culture, since they understand mechanical principles at a fully instinctive level. Orcs lack individual psychic power, being denied such abilities by the Old Ones. However, they do have a sort of collaborative, collective psychic ability, meaning that if enough orcs believe something is true, then it will actually become so, brought into being in real space through the power of the Immaterium by their Gestalt psychic ability. This is called WAAAAGH energy. Yes, but for example, orc rockets painted yellow create bigger explosions simply because the vast majority of orcs believe they do. Or of course, the common...
You mean like you can't see purple? Or
Yeah.
red makes things go faster?
Yeah.
I like
Exactly.
that one. But green is best.
This is also why much of the orcs' seemingly ramshackle technology will do terrible damage in the hands of orcs, but will cease to function when used by other intelligent races. Now, each and every orc on a battlefield is unified into one singular purpose: war. As humans gather in war, there is dissension, personal interest, and honor, which tug at each warrior individually. When orcs gather into a war, the very air thrums with power of their excitement, their enthusiasm, and their sheer lust for battle. The more orcs, the greater the psychic power they generate. Orcs themselves seem almost unaware of the existence of this phenomenon, all the while swept along by the tide of it. However, few rare orcs are keenly aware of this energy.
Yeah, who, boss?
Well, you remember those weird boys you were talking about earlier?
Mm-hmm.
Well, they seem to act as lightning rods for the power of the war, drawing it to themselves unconsciously and unleashing it with devastating effect, hurling bolts of crackling green energy, impelling their allies along with the force of the war, or crushing their foes bodily with their telekinetic might. A weird boy is a terrifying display of orcish power. Yes, these rare orcs do not relish their power, rather they fear it.
Yeah, those weird boys be scary. You know, every time we walked by one stout rock, we felt a weird tingle up my spine.
I hears ya. They be scary orcs.
Yes, well, those with
Ah!
energy is an uncontrollable and dangerous thing. And most are driven mad by it long before they learn to channel it with any measure of safety. Yet still, not even the most capable weird boy can ever truly hope to control the power of war in full force. In such instances, the weird boys are simply incapable of containing the overwhelming mass of coruscating energy produced by their fellows. Most are able to hurl a bolt or two of green lightning towards their enemies before they are overcome, their heads bursting in a ball of green flame or vanishing altogether with a clap of otherworldly thunder. Now, real quick, before we carry on, I mentioned earlier that they were mushrooms, and they kind of are. Let me explain. Orc physiology is actually the complex interweaving of two symbiotic organisms that have been genetically linked by the Greenskin's original creators. One strain is comparable to a terrestrial animal, and the other to an algae or fungus living within the former's bloodstream and skin. And orcs' animal cells carry the genetic information of only the individual's orcoid subspecies, but the fungoid component of their physiology possesses the genetic information that defines all the different varieties of orcoid, as well as the different odd boys, and it helps to heal wounds by providing greater biochemical energy supplies drawn from some form of biosynthesis when necessary. Orc biology lends itself well to combat. They are extraordinarily strong and tough, and are naturally good fighters, always looking for a scrap. You see, when the old ones were at the brink of losing, they changed something in the Orcs' genomes, and they genetically engineered the Orcs' DNA to include a technogene. This gene develops in Orcs as they grow, influencing their minds and releasing genetically encoded knowledge in a similar way that a human baby will reflexively hold its breath underwater, or a horse can walk half an hour after being born. Anywho, an Orc's technogene gives it information on how to fight, operate weapons, and speak the Orc language. So, instead of acting like normal animals, Orcs do everything differently.
That's right.
Instead of producing sexually, Orcs spawn from spores that are released from an Orc's skin. These fungal spores grow into a plant-like womb underground that nourishes the bodies of various orcoid species. This is the entire basis of the orcoid ecosystem, producing first squigs, then snotlings, who cultivate the squigs and the fungus they feed on, then Gretchen to build the green-skinned settlements, and finally the Orcs themselves. This means the Orcs, wherever they go, will have an abundance of food, slaves, and other resources. A moving orcoid ecosystem that supports them as they unleash their roars. This also makes it extremely difficult to rid a planet of Orcs, even if the initial invasion is defeated. Orcs release spores throughout their lives, but release them massively at the moment of death. Without a nearby population of Orcs, the alien fungus will eventually start the orcoid life cycle anew. Decades after weathering an orc war, settlements on a planet can find themselves faced with an unexpected attack from feral orc tribes coming out of the wilderness. The only way to effectively remove all of the orcs once they're on planet is through a planetary exterminatus action. Before we go, what say you about the orcs and all the other races while we're at it?
Well, all the races? Let's see here. The orcs are probably the most
Screw
fun.
the Drukhari.
Okay, I can agree with you on that one. Okay, let's see if I can agree with you on the one on your thought process. Go ahead. We start with screw the Drukhari. Yeah, I'm on board with that one.
But don't actually screw them. I mean, just like kick them to the curb.
No, that would be something Slanesh would do. But yeah.
Don't really care about the Asurani personally.
Honestly, the Eldar in general, I really don't care about. But
overall, yeah, I don't care too much about them either. I do like the Harlequins with their enigmaticness.
I don't like the Harlequins. That's something, anyways, that we already talked about. I disagree with, but
they're
space elves.
The Votann are okay. There's what?
I was going to say, I kind of like the Votann. To me, anyways, I need to do more research on the Votann. I need to find more articles of information on them to give them a pro or a negative. I like the fact that they're space dwarves. I mean,
clones of space dwarves.
Yeah, they're the descendants, technological descendants of space dwarves. Ooh. I don't like the fact
that they have beards.
Preach.
Dwarves have beards. Even the women folk.
Yes. That's why people think that they just shoot out of the ground.
Which is ridiculous.
Yes. But no, the Votann, I think anyways that the more information I can gather from them anyways, the more I'm probably going to like them. Unfortunately, most of the information that I have been able to gather from them anyways has been very brief. I mean, like, for instance, their weapons and capabilities of their weapons. It's very much like, well, they have this in the Imperium, but the Votann do it better.
Yeah.
I mean, that's about it. So it's like, okay.
They can do a percentage better damage and rate.
Other than their incredibly dangerous dark star material. Which if you just
Don't
get
cut yourself shaving.
Yeah, don't cut yourself. Yeah. I can picture it now. Terran 42, Gillette, Dark Star razors. Use it wisely. Yeah.
Instant death.
We forgot to talk about that when we talk about the Votann. So the Votann have this particular type of it's a material that they've found within the galactic core, and they have forged it into this thing called dark star metal. And what it is pretty much is that if you can cut something with it, then it sucks the soul out of their body and they die.
Yeah.
So that's why we were chuckling about the fact anyways of someone like Gillette coming out with a razor for it. It's just like it would be a plague among itself.
Paper cut. Oh wait.
Oh no. And you just barely have to cut something. That's the thing that's just insane about it. I mean, can it cut through armor better than, like, for instance, a Necron's blade? Probably not, but if it does, you're dead. Okay, so that's the Votann. All right, keep going.
Okay, so the Tau. I like some of the races that are attached to the Tau. I like the Kroots.
Okay, so yeah, this is another thing we forgot to mention. Anyways, we mentioned it actually last time, but on our timeline. But the Tau have actually, like I said before, anyways, they start with diplomacy. There have been some alien races that have actually joined the Tau Empire, other than humanity. One of which, anyways, is the Kroot, who I'll get to here in a second. The other is the Vespid. Those are the two like big ones. Oh, and then there's the what are they called? The Nanosar. They're the pancake polar bears.
Oh yeah.
who don't really do any fighting, but they're like explorers. They explore space and so they're kind of the Tau's explorers. They can, because they can warp jump and do other things that are pretty cool. But they're not really fighters. But the description of how they are is they literally are pancake polar bears.
Yeah.
If you took a polar bear and squished it into a pancake, that's what it is. But that, and then they have those weird worm guys that hang out with them. They hang out with the ethereals. But
who may be or may not be controlling the Tau.
Yeah, that's the yeah. Anyways. But the Kroot are the Vespid are like these six-legged. They're like insectoid flyer dudes. They look very much actually like the Terran 42 Star Wars' Attack of the Clones. The
Geonosians.
Yeah, the Geonosians. They look a lot like them, except for they've got 6 eyeballs and
of each other
and mandibles. But the rest of their body looks pretty similar. And then the Kroot are just weird. They're kind of cool. They're like lizard bird people that are cannibalistic for a good reason.
Yeah.
And you might be saying, well, Zeckthar, there should be no reason why cannibalism should be good. Like, well, here's the thing, is that they eat the enemies that they've killed, so cannibalistic's not really the right term. Cannibalistic would mean, anyways, they were eating themselves, which I don't think they do. They used to do. They don't do anymore.
I do believe they do that, but it's like with the dead. They're dead.
Right. Oh,
that's
yeah, you're
to, like,
absolutely right.
preserve memories and stuff.
Right. So, because the way that the genomes of the Kroot work is that when you eat somebody that is sentient, then you gather their knowledge. Not only that, but you also can gather their strengths. So, like, for instance, a Kroot eats a bunch of orcs. It will become significantly stronger and bigger. It will actually shift into that. They're not allowed to eat Necrons because, well, they're made of metal. And then they're not allowed to eat Tyranids either because the genomes of the Tyranids try to actually take over the Kroot itself, anyways.
They don't taste good. That's what they explain it. They taste tainted.
Actually, no, yeah, you're right. Anyways, with that, the Necrons, on the other hand, they've tried to eat Necrons, and like the Necrodermis literally kills them from the inside out. The technology of the Necrons
starts growing inside them.
Yeah. So yeah, don't do that. So the crew, yeah, they're also fairly interesting. But so you actually find the races that are attached to the Tau more interesting than the Tau.
Yeah, I mean, I do like. Yeah, it's. Yeah.
The Tau Empire. I love the Farsight enclaves. Just that concept of Commander Farsight going, I'm going out on my own, and then like actually establishing, you know, like a monarchy, but it's like run by like I said before. Anyways, it's run very much like King Arthur's court, where you have the round table, and you have all of your knights that are there anyways, and they interject and they give issues.
So, Joe, what is your opinion on the? We are having our board meeting here.
Pretty much, it's like, well, Galahad, what are you thinking? Yeah, but except for it's called the 8, and by the way, they're not all, by the way, Firecast. You have some Earth guys in there, and I believe there's one Water guy. And then the Earth dude is just like. The other thing, though, too, that's interesting about the Farsight Enclaves is that they really have kind of gone away from that whole caste system. With the Tau, if you are an Earth Tau, you cannot reproduce with an Air Tau. Right? You have to within your own caste. So
stay in your own lane, buddy.
Stay in your own lane, pretty much, yeah. With the Farsight Enclaves, they don't care. So you've got a lot of like interbreeding's a relative term, they're all Tau, but from like the different caste systems, which is actually building like completely new developments. You're getting people anyways that end up working within like the Earth system aspect of it, like an engineer, but because their dad was a Firecast dude, they're like a little bit more prone to building a new, better machine of war. Or instead, mom was, you know, an aircast person. It's like, well, I can build this engine that goes faster than any other engine that you have.
Yeah.
Why don't we strap that onto the new prototype pilot ship? Cool, you know. So it's to me, anyways, it's even become more an interesting, you know, kind of concept. Not only that, but Farsight, as opposed to the Tau Empire, hates the Farsight enclaves.
That's
the Farsight enclaves, on the other
right?
hand, actually don't bear any real ill will towards the Tau Empire. They're like, if you need help, we're there to help you. We're all Tau, you know, kind of thing. But then the Tau Empire is like, kill them all. So it's like a little interesting. Okay, so you could kind of take or leave the Tau, right? Is that kind of your thought process? Okay. What about the bugs?
I don't care for them. I know they are just animals, but just in general.
You're not a big bug guy to begin with either, are you? Just bugs in general.
Well, they make holes in our books. Zeckthar, they make holes in our books.
Good.
They tear things apart. They should all be burnt.
The actual Tyranids in and of themselves, anyways, I'm kind of like you with the Tau, anyways. I could kind of just take them or leave them. I think that they're biologically interesting. Just anyways, on the many different species they have. I can't stand gene stealers, though. They're like a plague wrapped up with communism. I mean, it's terrible. So, yeah, okay. Fair enough. Like I said, anyways, though, the actual Tyranids, I do think it's kind of interesting, anyways, just the different biological differences between all of them. I mean, not only that, but like the hive shifts, anyways, is like an actual. It's a ship, but it's also like a living mechanism, which is kind of cool. But all right, who do we have left?
Well, the orcs, we can both agree that we like the orcs.
Yeah. Except for the two that have been running around our ship. Hey, shut up. Yes, the orcs are quirky and funny and terrifying all at the same time.
That's, I think, all the races. Right?
Oh, you're missing one. My favorite guys.
The Necrons?
Yep, the Necrons. What do you think of the Necrons?
I think they have a lot of issues that they need to figure out. We need to wipe out humankind. Well, actually, we may need them. We're supposed to band together. No, we want our own stuff. I mean,
the thing I like about the Necrons is that the more that I read into them, anyways, the more I actually like them. Because they are very much like you were just saying, anyways. They are very scattered. They are very much. They have. I mean, because a lot of the old stuff, anyways, the records that we went through, anyways, no one really knew anything about the Necrons. So they were very much just these soulless, mindless robots that just randomly showed up, killed everybody, and then disappeared. And it just, I mean, to me, anyways, that has, there's no character there. There's nothing interesting about that. That's just about it. That's why I can kind of take or leave the Tyranids. It's because it's like, well, what's their goal? What's their strategy? What do they think? Feed. That's it. You know? And with the Necrons, anyways, Necrons are kind of the same way. They just kind of show up, kill things, and then leave. But the more I'm looking into them, anyways, especially like guys that are in charge, who have retained their memories, and they're still, anyways, very much like the Necron tier. In fact, actually, I'm going to be doing by this point, anyways, I would have actually completed and released a short box on the Conquest of Uda Prime, and I talk about, what's his name? Xandrek. And so Xandrek, anyways, when just give you kind of so the Necrons, to me, anyways, I've always found kind of quirky. Just the way that they think of things, because not only are they immortal, but they just the way that they think of things. My favorite character, like I've told you Yuksen many times before, that we should have a chat with, is Trazine. I mean, we should go to the planet of Salamis one of these days and talk to him. Anyways, Xandrek, when he reawoke, part of his brain was like left behind. So sometimes he really honestly thinks that he is still back in the day, hanging out anyways with Necron tier. And the people that he's fighting aren't like alien species. They are like insurgents or rebels from the Necron dynasty, Sawtek dynasty. So he treats them. He's the guy, anyways, that we talked about, anyways. When we talked about Coruscant Khan, he's the guy that captured him.
Okay.
Remember how he had to escape with Illic, the Night Ranger, or the Ranger?
Okay,
from the Necrons, and he had like this big bountiful feast, and he had them, anyways, like give them food, even though they're all Necrons and none of them eat. Yeah, it's that guy with his bodyguard, the giant dude with the scythe.
Yeah,
Oberon. Yeah, they're both pretty cool, or fun, anyways, to read about. Imhotep the Stormlord, another guy, anyways, that. And the funny thing is that humanity is just so often, anyways, overlooks the Necrons. That's the other thing. And they really shouldn't. Because it will eventually haunt them. But so you're kind of along the lines, anyways, along with the Necrons, so you can just kind of take them and leave them too.
Yeah.
Or you don't like them.
I can take them or leave them.
Okay. Well, I love the Necrons, and that's why, anyways, for the next few weeks, I will be doing shorter boxes on some of the Necron dudes. But on that note, we are out of time for today. Now, join us next week as we delve a little more into the Imperium Man.
Fantastic. But for those of you who enjoyed our little show, could you please be so kind as to push that subscribe, like, or follow button? If you wish to help us expand our work on 40k lore, by all means, support us by joining our membership program on our YouTube channel, Tales of Ashraka. Right now we have 4, but we could use more.
That rhymes!
Shut up.
Oh, and don't forget to purchase the Yoden Ice, sold wherever ebooks are sold.
Yes, and most importantly, have a great day. And
Until next time, this is Zeckthar,
Snot Rock, and Blade Rot.
And Yuksen, signing off.